Imagine this. It's a cold night in San Francisco. A man is sitting on the floor of a public bathroom inside a subway station. He has locked the door from the inside. In his arms, he is holding his 1-year-old son, wrapped in a blanket, trying to keep him warm. The man is not homeless because he is lazy. He's not uneducated. In fact, this very man will one day own his own multi-million-dollar company on Wall Street. His name is Chris Gardner. And today, I want to tell you his real story. A story so powerful that Hollywood turned it into a movie called The Pursuit of Happyness, starring Will Smith. This is not just a story about money. It's a story about hope, patience, and never giving up, even when life gives you every reason to quit. Let's begin.
Part 1. A Childhood Without Safety. Chris Gardner was born in 1954 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the United States. His childhood was not easy. His father was absent for most of his life. His stepfather was abusive, an alcoholic man who hurt his mother in front of him. Chris grew up watching violence at home, moving from house to house, sometimes even living in foster care because his family could not take care of him. He once said something that stayed with people forever. He said that he made a promise to himself that when he became a father one day, his children would always know who their father was. They would always feel safe. That single promise would guide the rest of his life. As a young man, Chris joined the U.S. Navy. It gave him discipline. It gave him structure. But when he came out, he still didn't know what his future would look like. He worked as a medical equipment salesman for a while. He got married. He had a son. But life was about to test him in ways he never imagined.
Part 2. The Fall. One day, Chris Gardner saw a man on the street. This man was driving a bright red Ferrari. He looked confident, successful, happy. Chris walked up to him and asked, "What do you do? And how do you do it?" The man said, "I'm a stockbroker." That single conversation changed everything. Chris became fascinated by the stock market. He decided he wanted to become a stockbroker too, even though he had no college degree, no financial background, and almost no money. He applied for a training position at a company called Dean Witter Reynolds. Somehow, against all odds, he got an interview, and then he got the position. But here's the problem. It was an unpaid internship. That means he had to work full-time, all day, without earning any salary for months, just for the chance to eventually become a licensed broker. At the exact same time, his personal life was falling apart. His marriage broke down. His wife left. And Chris was now a single father, raising his young son, Christopher Jr., completely alone, while working an unpaid job that barely gave him time to breathe. Money became impossible. He couldn't pay rent. He was evicted from his apartment. He couldn't pay parking tickets. And one day, he was even arrested and held in jail for unpaid fines, while still expected to show up to work the next morning in a suit and tie, pretending everything was fine. Eventually, Chris and his baby son had nowhere to sleep. Part 3. Homeless, with a baby in his arms. For almost a full year, Chris Gardner was homeless. Every single night was a battle to find shelter for himself and his son. Sometimes they slept in homeless shelters, but shelters had limited spots, and Chris often had to run straight from work, racing across the city, just to arrive early enough to get a bed for the night. On the nights when the shelters were full, Chris had no choice. He would take his son into a public bathroom at the Bay Area subway station, BART, lock the door, put toilet paper on the floor, and hold his son close all night, just so nobody would bother them, and so his baby could sleep in peace. He would place his son's head on his chest
So if anyone tried to break in, Chris would wake up first. Think about that. A father, silently crying in the dark, holding his baby. But every single morning, waking up, putting on his one good suit, and walking into a stock brokerage office full of wealthy men, pretending that everything in his life was completely normal. He never told his coworkers he was homeless. He was too proud and too afraid they would fire him if they knew. During the day, he studied for his stockbroker license. At night, he protected his son. There was almost no time to eat, and even less time to rest. Many people would have given up. Many people would have said, "This is too hard. I can't do this anymore." But Chris Gardner kept going. Part 4. The breaking point and the turning point.
There was a moment, later shown in the movie, that captures his mindset perfectly. Chris once told his son a story about playing basketball. His son said, "I want to be a basketball player when I grow up." And people might normally say something discouraging, like, "That's very hard. Most people never make it." But Chris told his son, "Don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't do something. Not even me. You got a dream, you got to protect it. When people can't do something themselves, they're going to tell you that you can't do it. You want something? Go get it. Period." This single belief was the fuel that kept Chris moving forward, even during the darkest nights of his life. Eventually, after nearly a year of struggle, hard work, and refusing to quit, Chris Gardner passed his exams. He earned his stockbroker license. He got hired, this time with a real paycheck. And from there, his life slowly, steadily began to change. Part 5. From homeless to millionaire. Chris Gardner didn't just become a stockbroker. He became an extraordinary one. In 1987, he founded his own company, Gardner Rich & Company, a brokerage firm based in Chicago. Years later, he sold a portion of the company in a multi-million-dollar deal. The man who once slept on a bathroom floor with his son became a self-made millionaire, completely from nothing. But what makes Chris Gardner's story special isn't just the money. It's what he did with his success. He began speaking publicly about homelessness, about fatherhood, and about mental resilience. He wrote his life story in a memoir called The Pursuit of Happyness, which later became one of the most beloved films in Hollywood history, with actor Will Smith playing his role and Will Smith's real-life son, Jaden Smith, playing young Christopher. Chris Gardner also became a philanthropist, donating money to help homeless shelters, some of the very same shelters he once depended on to survive. Part 6. The lesson. So why does this story matter to us today? Because Chris Gardner's life teaches us something extremely simple, yet extremely powerful. Your current situation is not your final destination. He didn't have money. He didn't have family support. He didn't have a safety net. What he had was discipline, patience, and an unshakable belief that things could get better if he just kept moving forward, one day at a time. He never gave up on his son. He never gave up on his dream. And eventually, the world gave him back everything he had fought so hard for. Chris Gardner once said, "You have to protect your dreams. When people can't do something themselves, they'll tell you that you can't do it either. So the next time life feels overwhelming, the next time you feel like quitting, remember the man who once slept on a bathroom floor with his baby son in his arms, and years later, built an empire. If Chris Gardner could rise from that, what's stopping you?" That was the true story of Chris Gardner, the real man behind the Pursuit of Happyness. If this story inspired you,
don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful real-life stories that will change the way you see the world and help you improve your English at the same time. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep believing in yourself.